The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
When they had the sleepover, you find out, Nancy had the same nightmare as Tina. And now, Rod had that nightmare about the creepy guy with the knives for hands.
Yes.
And then right around the same time, Glenn reveals that he had a nightmare also about the guy. So it's like, I love how it builds. Like, you don't know from the beginning if they all did or not.
Yeah.
And then by the time Rod's dead, that's when you're like, oh, wow, they all had that dream. So that on a first watch, that's like the cool build for me,
Yeah. And that's also too, that adds to Nancy collecting more information. Like, what do I need to know about this cat? What do you know about him? Tell me. I need to collect everything. And so at the end I can, take him down.
Yep.
I did like that part too. You're right. I just wrote, sucks when your steps are made of marshmallows. When she was running up the steps and her feet.
That's another moment, where it was way scarier in the book, and then when I watched the movie,
really?
I was like, I don't know what that is. Was that fluff?
Yeah, exactly. I literally could have written fluff right after that, because I was like, oh, sorry, your feet are stuck in marshmallows. That's cute.
That's one of those, it sounds terrifying, but to look at it, you're just like, yeah, okay,
yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
That sucks. Whatever.
I know.
Did we talk about the arms?
No. The fucking Pennywise jiggly bullshit that I hate. No.
That was like Tina's second dream, I wrote down.
Yeah, that was still Tina's dream, right?
Yeah, because so like I said, I read the book first.
Okay.
When I read that scene, I was like, oh my god, his arms can go as far as they need to, and that sounds so terrifying. And then you watch the movie, you're like
I can almost see where they attached fake arms to his real arms, like at that point. Yeah.
The accordion arms, like remember like the boxing nuns kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, I know, exactly. And just the whole, it's just the wiggly jiggly. That's not scary. Sorry, I can't. Big fan of the Skarsgård family, but that was disappointing to me. So.
But it does have that really good line after the little elevator arms or whatever. Where he's, she's like, Tina's like, oh my god, what are you? And he's like, this is God. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But
that was cool. Unexpected. And I was like, what do you mean? Oh, because she said, oh my god.
And he's like, the glove is God now. This is
gotcha,
your God,
gotcha. Oh,
that's what I always thought meant, but it's just like that ambiguous dream stuff. But
that makes
the marshmallow stairs made me think of the elastic arms.
I know. I'm raving about the effects. I'm like, oh my god, Tina's dead body was so amazing. And then I'm like, you're walking on marshmallows.
Yeah, those two scenes not so cool, but everything else very, very cool.
Else great.
Yes.
Then I got really mad after Rod died, and they had that beautiful funeral and service for him. And I was like, where was Tina's funeral?
Okay, and he has his funeral the next damn day.
Yeah, was Tina still in autopsy? What's going on? I know she's a murder victim, but technically, what? Because he's a suicide, and they wouldn't have said all that nice stuff about him in a Catholic funeral if he was.
If it was a suicide, yeah.
Sorry,
totally.
That shit ain't real. That priest was too damn nice.
Was the point of that just to have who we now assume is Rod's parents, because we hadn't met them before, glare at John Saxon? Thanks for putting my son in prison. Is that the only reason that scene exists? I don't get it.
Yeah, but Nancy's gonna feel bad for him. They were friends of his, so there's gonna be people to mourn him, like people mourned Tina, but nobody got to visually huge with a casket mourn Tina. That was, I did not like that.
I think when I was a kid, I always thought that was Tina's funeral, and I just assumed it, I guess. But then it's the whole lived by the sword, died by the sword. It's subtle. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. That was what I was thinking was okay, well, we know he died of suicide and we hate that, but I guess we'll send him to wherever with a, some kind of a message of well, he was that type of guy, because, you know, those types of guys do this. So, really?
Yeah. You said you knew, so the dream that Nancy has when she's in the bathtub, we were saying she did the drawing.
Yes.
You knew that scene, right?
I did.
The hand coming up.
I think
like
only from Jaws. Like stuff like, you know, I Love the 80s, or just, you know, just seeing, I don't know, anytime there's like a Freddy Krueger reference, I guess that because that the one is the most like really coming at the screen.
Yeah.
You know, like it was, everything else is in the dark. It's in this boiler room. He's coming around from the back, which was weird in the beginning too, because Tina was like, I could see his face. What did his face, like, she was asking Nancy, like, oh, what did you see about his face? Because I saw XYZ. No, you didn't. He was behind you. But okay.
Well, this movie's full of nightmare logic too. So
true, but it was everything so dark, and like when his arms came out big, like we were talking about, the hands are, you can't even see them. They're out of screen. Like, so that was just like the first, like, it's bright. Your bathroom is supposed to be, again, okay, like I'm going back to it, I realize, but your bathroom is supposed to be your safe place because it's bright, it's clean, it's where you become hygienic, it's cleanliness and godliness and all that shit. And so that's being taken away from her too, because now, like, and literally, you know, from her womanhood comes this thing that's going to kill her.
Well, and also you think of it like as a girl in you know, in the suburban home, there's only so many places you're allowed to lock the door.
Yeah.
Right.
And be in your own space. And yeah, exactly. And that's being invaded. And it's literally like camera angle being invaded from your most private of places. Like,
right. And that's like probably the most sensational shot in the film too. Yeah. There's not a lot of oversexed imagery in a movie, even though
there's not.
They're having sex in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's one of the few moments where, maybe the only moment where Nancy is sexualized.
Yeah. Yeah, because after that you see her naked when she's pulled down underwater.
Yep.
I mean, it's like side boob, but you know, for the 80s.
And mom kind of accidentally saving her, you know, that whole that moment of,
which also,
okay, Mom.
I'm sorry, I grew up in a very old house. It was built in like the 1880s, but we had a key for every fucking door in the house because we weren't allowed to lock doors in my house. Like if my parents wanted to come in, they were keying. We had the keys like above all the doorways in my house.
Yep.
So mom could just grab the key, open my bedroom door, and boom, there I am, like, you know, making out with my boyfriend or something. But like, mom had to get a fucking wire hanger to open the bathroom. I was like, hey, if I'm screaming, my mother especially is probably going to kick down the door. But like, you don't have a key to your bathroom door. I'm like, this is weird.
Her mom is not.
Savvy.
Yeah. We also didn't really talk about the fact that she's from a divorced home, right? Like we know that her dad is not living there anymore.
Yeah. Mom is the epitome of like broken.
Yeah, I was gonna say her mom's kind of messed up.
Yeah, like broken marriage, broken new relationship, addicted. You know, she's the epitome of like, I'm trying to hold it together, but I really fucking can't.
Yeah, and that's like you see, she puts on these facades of I got it together now because I got to get it together for my daughter, and I'm gonna like that whole like I'm gonna warm up some milk for you. You know, like I'm gonna be the mom in this moment.
And Nancy's like, that's fucking gross.
Yeah, exactly. But like she has these moments, and then even like right after this is we have the funeral. Right after the funeral is when mom's like, I'm gonna take charge and I'm gonna do something about this, and I'm gonna bring her to the sleep clinic. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of maybe the last time we see mom try to be in charge. And after that doesn't work, she starts to like,
well, she starts to crumble hardcore because when she sees the hat and makes the connection, she's like, oh shit, stuff is bad. Maybe.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, the whole sleep clinic thing, I mean, that's pretty, like I said before, it's those moments in the audience of kind of like Nancy putting 2 and 2 together and you're putting 2 and 2 together with her, that whole sequence, where she comes out with the hat. And so the first time she kind of like she kicks that doctor across the room and tries to give her like some more sedatives. Yeah. And it's like, that's when she's like, no, you're wrong. This is what we have to do. And and then that confrontation the next morning with mom. Now that confrontation is pretty like spectacular because that's the moment where it flips. Yeah. Nancy's now the adult.
Definitely.
You know, mom is, you know, out of it. Mom is trying to grasp at straws here. Yeah. And, you know, oh, well, you know, stop drinking coffee and you got to get some sleep and there's something wrong with you, but, you know, you just got to sleep. You'll feel better. And Nancy's, I love that part. That's probably like the best. when she grabs the bottle of like vodka or whatever
And
behind
just, like,
mom,
throws it.
smashes it. She's like, what, should I just veg out like you, mom? You know, like, you have to confront things. This is real. This is what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So that moment's great.
That actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that might be really her conflict. Because like you said, that I did that no way, shape, or form was I going to gloss over the sleep clinic part. But that I feel like is a good metaphor for showing the audience through Nancy that like, nobody believes you. This is all fantasy. This is all magic. Oh shit, wait, it's science now? Because remember, they kept showing that screen for a reason. And you mentioned that before when we were talking. Like, your level when you're like calmly dreaming is supposed to be like 0.3. And then if you're having a nightmare, it goes up to 0.5. And you said like, oh shit, look, they keep showing the screen and now it's at like a 20.
Right.
So
I think by the end of that, it's like 30, 40, 50. And and you're seeing the meter go like crazy. And, you know.
So the fact that they showed that, they are pointing like, look, science is now proving a thing.
Yep.
You know, so it's not just for kids who are, you know, having all these fantastical ideas or whatever. They're like, because adults only listen to science. So clearly science is talking, doctors are talking, medicine is telling you that like, no, there's something major wrong. So that I feel like, and then she comes out after that. That white hair, while I just thought looked really cool, is also symbolic too. Because now she just got a fuck ton older.
Yep. She just aged. The whole, I look 20 years old, you know?
Yeah,
like,
but now you look like me. Like you're just,
I was saying you look 40.
Yeah, exactly. Now you came out of that with possibly more wisdom as to what's going on with you. You've aged years in a night. And yeah, like you said, she's just continuing to learn and age and like take over the role of everybody, like mom, teacher, you know, adult.
Yeah, that's the whole arc, right? So that's the point where she
might be the
final. Yeah, so that's that final knowledge, the confrontation with mom. When she walks out, it's to meet up with Glenn on the bridge.
Yeah.
And, you know, he talks, which is, you know, this is again something that they're going to go back to later in the series, the idea of dream skills. Was it the Balinese way of dreaming? You know,
yeah, like different cultures.
Took all art and culture from dreams, you know, and realizing that your dreams are there for a reason and they have some importance in your life.
Yeah.
And also the fact that she's got her surveillance books and her like I'm into I'm
into survival.
I'm into survival. Yeah. Yeah, that's the moment. I think between those three scenes, that's when Nancy is like in charge.
Yeah. And the doctor said that too. He was, when mom was just like, and this is the scene too. And I know I already said this off camera, but like, this is the point where I realized that the mom in this movie is my mother, because especially I've had multiple EEGs for brain stuff. And especially when your own kid is sitting there, I guess, and they're not sure what's wrong. And you're trying to, even doctors, these medical people who have studied for so many years can't figure out what's wrong. And you as a parent, I guess, are just super frustrated. That would be my mother. Pulling out a cigarette going, I don't understand. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Cause I don't get it. I don't have the capacity to get it. But the doctor explains to her, humans have to dream for a reason. There's like a scientific reason why we are supposed to dream. And then Johnny Depp backing up that statement to be like, yeah, this is how not only physiologically we have to dream to work out all our inner bullshit, but it is our creative outlet. And like other cultures, like you said, have used it for spirituality and creativity and blah, 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 blah. So yes, all that shit together.
Comes together.
I can't end a fucking sentence. Steve Gutenberg. Yes.
Right. Not Steven Gutenberg.
Not Steve Gutenberg. I've had many EEGs. They don't put a sticker on your chin.
Yeah, I don't know what this was going to do.
I don't know either.
Just because they didn't want to get out, they didn't want to take up too much of her main shot. I don't know.
Yeah, she has a very pretty hair.
She does.
But that's another thing too. I was going to say they do put 2 here, but then they put like 40 on
in your head. Yeah.
Toothpaste, sticky, gross. Ugh. Fucking, I want to shave my head after my last EEG.
I've gotten that all over every place they can do them. Yep.
I know. So that scene that you brought up too, when Nancy's making that transition to adult and mom is just like downward spiraling in the kitchen. That is the scene that I felt like both of those women as actors kind of lost the ball a little bit.
See, I like Heather Langenkamp there.
Really? I just feel like you are literally at the brink. You have not had sleep. Your best friend died. Her boyfriend died. You witnessed her boyfriend died in your lap. He was fucking gray, and the makeup on that was really good too. all this bad shit is happening to you when you're 17 and you live in the burbs. Bitch, you need to snap. This is the point where I would be like, I snap at the fucking drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Come on!
Who's that?
Who's that? She pulled it out of a dream. She just pulled the hat out of a dream. Come on! Like, this is the point I would just assume that, like, literally she can't take it anymore and she explodes. Mm. And if mom is drunk and mom is erratic and mom is not liking the tone or whatever of what's going on, that crack is coming harder. Like,
maybe that's just Nancy being so reserved of a person that is her cracking, you know? Because I mean, like, the whole screw sleep, bam.
That was, yes. When she did that, I was like, yeah, girl, okay. Now we're cooking with gas.
But I think it's not, was it when, after Glenn dies, I think, when we finally get mom's explanation.
No, he was still alive, I think. Yeah, because right after I wrote my little note about the scene in the kitchen, I wrote, so mom knew him, huh? Because they go downstairs and they're talking about that. And then I wrote, their basement is crazy. Because I'm like, what's all the shit in the basement? They have like a carnival.
Well, that's like, my basement looked like that. We had big, huge things that we put out in the front yard for Christmas.
We had like woodworking shit. But, I also thought that was a dream too. Because the way the mom seemed very, and I know this was, still maybe hungover or drunk, still drunk. But she was very like, mommy took care of it. And I was like, Norman Bates from,
yes,
it was a little
okay, so that's the same day,
same day that he hadn't died yet, right?
He hadn't died yet. So yeah, when she comes, no, it's before Glenn dies. This is before this is like after the scene where they're on the bridge. Yes. And she comes home and mom's standing there all like, come with me and I'll show you what happened. Like that whole crap. That's not really. I mean, I like that scene.
No, I know
it's not awesome, but when she goes downstairs and she tells her the story, and that's epic tale, and she does a really good job in telling that tale.
She does
this straight up origin story of this vigilante murder that the families did on Freddie, and that's intense. Mm-hmm. And then it's like oh yes, there's the line of see, Fred Krueger can't hurt you, dear, because mommy killed him, and I even took his knives, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
like that first time, that's intense.
I think that's why I thought it was a dream, because I was like, no, they're usually on his hand. That means bitch is gonna pop, or she's gonna turn into him. I had all this like other stuff in my head, but actually that kind of makes sense that she started talking to her in that kind of way, because literally 5 minutes before that, up in the kitchen, Nancy just showed her adult side.
Yeah,
and she was like, I'm on top of this now. You are not taking care of me. I clearly need to take care of myself. So maybe mom had to flip it and reverse it and be like, no, it's okay. Mommy's got you.
But then after that, mom is like lying down on the couch, and, you get these kind of moments where you start to see Nancy be the mom, like.
Right. Tucking her in and taking care of her.
And then like the last time when mom's in bed and she finally says, like, after Glenn dies. Yeah. And then you get that moment where it's a complete transfer of power. Yeah. And it's like she's, mom's kind of docile now. Mm-hmm. Nancy's the one taking care of her for real. And it's that whole, like, it's where mom was taking away her coffee cups when she was trying to lull her. Now she's taking away the liquor, to lull mom. And then you get that line, that's your power. You face things head on, and, but sometimes you have to let go. Yeah. And you get that little spark of wisdom from mom one last time. Yeah. And then, that's Nancy's her own woman now.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why mom had to exit stage left, so Nancy could kind of do her own thing. This could be a fucking mom study all up in the, like, I'm just.
This is a mom and daughter movie, totally.
I didn't even think of that when we were watching, but now.
I always thought of it in, like, the broken home scenario of, like, this is the suburbs, and, the two can't live together, and Nancy's stuck in the middle, and that's why Nancy has to be her own woman. But now, the more because it's just her and her mom for most of it, dad's kind of distant. Yeah.
And even when she asks for his help, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes when you wake up, blah, blah, blah. But really he's not, until it's almost too late. The scene in the kitchen and how I was just like, Nancy didn't get intense enough. And you were like, no, I think that's her way. She's just very reserved. I flipped my page and I had more notes, and it made me remember. This was when I wrote right after. Okay, so right after she puts mom to bed and she's MacGyvering all the fucking thing together. That was when I wrote, "You are definitely Nancy," like you. And I asked you that in your episode when you were taking the questions, and you were like, "No, I'm not. I strive to be her, but I'm not.
I want to be Nancy."
Not only would you prevail in a situation like that? I mean, like, I think out of all of our friend group, we're always like, who's the one that we're taking during the zombie apocalypse? Fucking Vic. Like, you're not taking me. You're not taking, there's just some people to call during that time, and I'm calling you. But also, even when you're intense, you're reserved about it. You're not screaming at, you're like, you're not as... You are, but it's so you're always like still waters run deep, like that metaphor or proverb or whatever.
I will say at work, I have this kind of Zen master kind of vibe that people think I have. Which is just because I try not to let people rile me up too much. So yeah, but okay. Even when it's necessary for you to get riled up, you do it in a different kind of way. Like out of all of our female friend group, there's no one that is, more or less strong out of all of us, but you completely do it in a different kind of way. And it's still just as, like, intense, but you're just not throwing your voice out to do it. Like, I don't like yelling.
No, I know.
A lot of effort. I don't like that.
But that also, you've studied, Eastern philosophy, you've taken karate, like you have that as like a vibe,
I watched a lot of Star Wars growing up. Yeah.
You have a personal Yoda?
Yeah, I'm very Yoda, but I'm very Bruce Lee, be like water,
Exactly.
These are my references in life. I read books too, I swear. But
no, please. I make more movie references than I make book references. So people are surprised when they're like, "Oh, you know all the movies." I'm like, "I know 10 movies."
I think we can honestly say now, after years of your show, 100+ episodes of your show, we can say now that you know 25 movies.
I have been saying 10 for a lot of time.
There's more than 10 of Avengers films. So, like, if you think the Marvel universe,
I have seen 22 MCU movies. Yeah, you're right.
We can I think we can finally get most of the say she knows 50 movies, maybe.
That's true. Can we count, like, the TV movie of the lottery? That shit was quality.
I need to watch that after hearing that episode. I only knew the, like, little short one they play in school off the projector. So
yeah, and that was like that one's on YouTube too. That's like 16 minutes long or something.
Yeah, that's the one I knew.
But this one was like a
analysis.
This was like a legit movie. Like, I mean, other than Dan Cortez, I wouldn't call him legit, but he even did a good job. There's so many things I need to talk about this tiny little scene. When after she MacGyvers the house, she sets her alarm, she preps everything, she gets into bed and she prays. Totally takes me back to so many of the God references in this. I would love to do an analysis of that too, like all of the, Catholic references in this and the Christianity vibe of, good versus evil, blah, blah, blah. I could talk about that forever.
That's a common thing, I think, in Wes Craven stuff, is his disbelief in Christianity that kind of prevails.
Oh, wow. Now, okay, so I don't know if you know, was he raised Catholic or Christian?
I think he was raised Christian, but I think he studied a lot of Eastern philosophy stuff.
So, yeah, I didn't know if he just, did studies of, typical Catholic lore or whatever, but all those influences in there, I was catching all of them, and I was like, I dig this a lot. But then, and I'm wondering if this happened to you too, when she was done with the prayer, did you start going, "Hush, little baby, don't..." Because that I can't listen to that prayer anymore without that happening after.
Metallica.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Vix, this is happening to her too. I was like, or at least I hope. But yeah, so did that happen?
I probably was watching this right around the time that album first came out.
That's so funny.
I have to, yeah. It has to be around, because I remember freshman year of high school learning how to play that song in guitar class.
Oh yeah, you're right, because that was, I don't know why, for some reason I remember that was 1991.
It was 91, yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and I was in like 7th, 8th grade, so yeah, you would have been a freshman. That's so funny.
Yep.
I don't know why I remember that was 91. Like, I was not listening to Metallica in 1991.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Catholic overtones, Christian overtones, I think that's like throughout. I think that's his whole Americana studies that he has going on.
Okay, I dug all that stuff though. Yeah.
Because even like his whole thing about why it's called Nightmare on Elm Street, I probably should have said this before, I forgot, is this whole because every town has an Elm Street kind of thing, and that's something Freddy says later, but it's like, because Elm Street means it could be anywhere America, and that was totally what he was trying to be, like, this is American town.
Oh, yes, it's like Main Street USA kind of.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
and
wow.
Apparently, Wes Craven was a teacher before he got into film, and
really?
Yeah, and the school he worked at, which was a technical college, was on Elm Street in the town that he taught in.
Shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Come on, that's rad.
The other thing I was thinking this time that I never thought of before, especially watching you cringe to the, every time that sound happened.
I hate that sound.
I wonder if, because I was like, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Hey, was that because he was a teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people that are going to anybody who's going to cringe at that metal on metal severe like sound, especially from technical work or anything like that. But the people who are going to get the nails on a chalkboard reference, like you said, you just made it because you're a teacher. I know it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it has to be.
That goes back to like innocent suburban too. Like your school marm teacher. Yeah, they're innocent 100%, 99% of the time, but then that one time they want to really fuck with you because you're being naughty. And I don't know why, even when I was in Catholic school, all my teachers had really nice nails. So I could just picture that kept me from not doing anything wrong, was even the idea that they were going to scratch the chalkboard. I was like, oh God, please don't, you know? And the nuns with the rulers, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I didn't have that one experience, but yeah.
Dude.
But yeah, so yeah, Lord's Prayer. She has those little, so she intentionally goes into that dream. You have all these little like little flashbacks in her brain, of all these little moments of conversations she had with Glenn, things Tina said, her friends screaming when they die, or just
because she's remembering everything she learned from them.
She's remembering everything, and then when it gets to the screaming, you almost think like Freddy's putting these into her head, like I want you to have been part of that too.
Okay.
There's all this kind of stuff about. When is it the nightmare? Can things happen when someone else is dreaming that's in the circle? Because there's some little things where it's like she's not in a dream, but nightmare like stuff happens. And it's like, oh, Glenn's sleeping, or even when Rod was sleeping, there was that feather, after she woke up and Rod was asleep. It's like, oh, wow. So I feel like once any of them is in the dream world's wide open.
Yeah.
And Nancy's seeing both sides, reality and the dream. So. The more, as I get older, the more I think about how the dreams are really playing in there. And like, there's this weird, I kept writing down in my notes this time watching, dream map. Like I kept thinking like dream mapping. Like her basement leads to the boiler room, which is at the school.
Yes.
But is it really at the school? Because, we learn later in like the canon of all things Freddy, when they had the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Freddy's Nightmares. Episode 1 is the story of Fred Krueger, the child killer. Your child monster.
Oh, nice.
And it's about his trial. And you see the backstory, and like between that one and like the second movie, which probably was around the same time, they infer that the boiler room is somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Okay,
thank you. Attached to the school.
Mom wasn't specific about the boiler room.
Right.
She just said we took him to the boiler room, put gasoline, and lit it up.
Right. The boiler room was his kids too. Right, they never said it was in the school. So especially like when Tina's dreams, her backyard leads to, and Nancy's dreams, her front yard leads right to the prison. Like there's this dream map. Yeah. And I want that
as a picture.
Yeah, I want that on my wall.
You should totally have that on your wall.
I should totally have that on my wall.
Yeah, there's a reason why, because they kept. When you set up a movie, I have eyes. I can watch. I can see what's happening. But they kept repeating, like Nancy and Glenn being on the phone, she was like, you're across the street. Turn around. Or something. And I was just
when
like,
the bars are up, when Mom's with the bars, and she's so far away. Yeah.
I know. But like, you don't have to say you're across the street. They made it a point to particularly make everybody notice how close they all were to each other.
Yes.
So I think that ties into what you're talking about, how like location's super important, and then their subconscious location is super important. Yeah.
Because then even that dream, when she sets the timer and she goes looking for Freddy.
He's like, I need 20 minutes. That's it. And I'm like, damn, how do you know that?
Right. We're going to make it happen. But of course, it takes the last 10 minutes for it to work and all that,
Yeah.
The suspense. And I just think that moment where she jumps on him because she knows she's going to run out of time and she's just exasperated. It's like, oh my God, I can't make this work if you're all the way over there.
Yeah.
So she jumps on him. And when she wakes up, she has the rose trestle.
Yes.
And it's like, so she's taking things out of the dream with her all the time now.
Yeah. And I thought she was at that moment too, before that was the only, that other than the bug, that was the only other thing that got me when he jumped up from the side of her bed. I was like,
that was more jump scare than I remembered.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
When she was holding the trestle, I was like, oh, fuck. I got so despondent for her. I was like, fuck, she failed.
Yeah.
She brought something. She has that power. She's super fucking powerful, but she brought the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And then he pops up and I was like, no, she did it.
I was thinking when we were watching it that's totally like in Halloween when Michael Myers sits up.
Yes. Which I love.
That moment. Yeah.
Love that part.
Yep.
I actually forgot this, speaking of like, the 10 movie references I make all the time. It was literally like right after, was she on the phone with her father? And she was just like, she's like, I'm guessing you're over there because Glenn's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, he is. And I think he asks her, how are you? Or somebody asked her very shortly after, how are you? And she goes, I'm okay. And I wrote down, you're pretty fucking far from okay. I was like, are you kidding? I was like, I know you don't see him. And I actually, at this point, I was starting to think, though, that she was getting, like, kind of a psychic. Like, she didn't know how gruesome it was, but she knew kind of how he was killed.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, their dreams are all starting to interconnect or whatever. But when she's just like, I'm okay. I wanted to be like, you're pretty fucking far from okay. But... of course, that was my last note. I know we have that crazy scene at the end, though, which I need to ask you because I don't understand what happened.
Throw it at me.
So when she's finally confronting Freddy for the last time, and she's just like, I've done all this study. I learned about you. I know what makes you tick, and I'm taking it the fuck away because I'm Nancy. And that was rad. So he, gets eviscerated. That was super awesome. Loved it. And the next day, it's all bright and shiny. Mom's all sober in a white dress, which I always notice that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy comes out. She's all clean. Her friends are alive in this totally awesome convertible waiting outside for her. And when she gets in, the hood starts to come up on its own. The windows start to come up on their own. The hood is red and green striped, which was red. That was so cool. Johnny Depp's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not making this happen. And then the car speeds down the street.
Yep.
And Mom gets pulled into the house from Freddy Krueger. The big hand comes out. Poof. So was that a dream?
It has to be. Because
because they pulled him out in real life. They pulled him out of the dream world. So I was like, they got him in real life now. Maybe she shouldn't have done that. And now maybe he's in real life and he's like alive again, which he was fucking on fire, but Michael Myers was on fire too. So apparently fire is not the way.
Fire doesn't do much of anything.
Fire is bullshit.
Yeah. Fire sucks.
Fire sucks.
So I feel like, when Nancy says, I take everything back that I gave you. Yes. I take my power back from you because I am fueling you.
Mm-hmm.
He has to go back to the dream world. He can no longer have physical, world.
So you think the eviscerating blue lights of death were him going back?
Right. And I think the original intent was that destroys him and poof, he's gone.
Okay.
And Wes Craven's ending is not exactly the same as what we saw in the movie. There's a lot of back and forth about the different versions of the ending. There's several cuts of the ending.
Oh, really?
The Freddy's glove grabbing Mom and pulling her in, I'm pretty sure that's Bob Shea wrote that part.
Okay.
Because here's the difference. You have Wes Craven writing a film, not thinking about, I have to make sequels. And he wants the teen to survive and to live. So she is in her kind of, she goes off and for a second could think that this might be true, but he also doesn't like you to know for real the end, if was it real or was it not?
Okay.
But Bob Shea's like, I have a feeling this is going to make some money, so I want to make part 2. So let's put Freddy's glove in there.
Well, they're thinking producer way instead of director artistic way.
Right. Okay. So I think his way was supposed to end it kind of open-ended. Like, did Nancy even survive? We don't know.
Yeah.
But they wanted to make a sequel.
I got you.
So they threw that in there just in case this made money, so they could go back and make a sequel. Of course they do. That means Freddy's Revenge comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a story that doesn't include Nancy, written by somebody else. And Wes Craven gets kind of like, what the hell did you doing with my shit? And so he gets in there. He's like, let me at least write part 3. So that's why part 3, everybody has all like major nostalgia for part 3s because it's kind of sort of the sequel that we wanted.
Okay.
Part 2 kind of breaks a lot of the rules of what part 1 puts in place because it's somebody else writing it.
Okay.
And this is all very much Bob Shaye's plan. And we'll even, I mean, by the time we get to part 3, New Line is living off of Nightmare on Elm Street money.
Yeah.
You know, they come, I mean, they get to do other things on their own later, but they start cranking them out like every other year.
They were coming out a lot, I remember. Yeah.
By part 4 and 5, those were within a year of each other, I think. That's when they start talking about New Line being the house that Freddy built. And
oh shit.
So it's the machine that's keeping them going.
Okay.
Hey, I'm cool with that. New Line ends up financing not just the Freddy movies, but later down the road, we're talking like lots of cool horror movies get their start through New Line, and Lord of the Rings in more recent times.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of movies I've seen.
There's a lot of cool movies that come out of New Line. And New Line's an independent company.
That
doesn't get enough credit for being that. Is a little used car salesmanish about it, but that's how you survive in business, so it's cool.
Miramax kind of turned into that too, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Miramax is kind of like the snooty version of New Line, I mean, to me.
Yeah, but weren't they indie at first and like grunge?
They were
and
total
like,
indie,
and everything, yeah.
Kevin, I mean, everybody got some kind of in with Miramax. Of course, nowadays we have to kind of like, in some ways, discredit a lot of that because of, you know, what we learn about those guys. But all that aside,
I don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about any of that.
No, me
but Miramax is the kind of indie film world, you know, but New Line was doing the same thing for the horror world.
For horror, okay.
Horror, sci-fi, all that. So they were the genre guys doing it, and they lived off it, man. So that's why I love, this is my whole deal, like the intersection of like horror and genre films and independent American cinema, man. That's
but
that's
those
my bread and butter.
And whatever it turns into, whether it's a money-based or, you know, whatever, it still created all this content for people our age and younger to appreciate and enjoy and pick apart. And so even if, you know, one screenwriter or one director got it wrong or whatever, we still have an opportunity to delve into all this shit.
And there's so much. I mean, a lot of people say, you know, Freddy got too jokey by like movie 3 or 4 and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe, but they took it, they had to, you could only have him being dark and brooding for so long. They had to take it another way.
Yeah.
It's how they kind of gave it legs and made it more accessible pop culture in that way too.
Yeah.
But I think the core of this movie is all about a pretty nasty villain.
Yeah.
Who starts off as a child murderer and ends up stuck in your dreams.
Yeah.
That's a pretty scary concept. And I think we forget it much later down the line because it got to be kind of jokey. And yeah, but like 5 and 6, oh my God, you know, it was a bit of a joke. But but the first film, man, I think if it had been a standalone, I think we still would be talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. Like, yeah, you can talk about Freddy Krueger the way you can talk about like John Wayne Gacy. Like personally, his personal persona, I mean, is what I was trying to say, was like a big joke. But if you look deeper, you know, you have to look at the psyche of a person who killed 33 kids as, yeah, you're a lot more than just a jokester clown guy. Like there's a lot more shit going on underneath. You got to pull away the layers. And it's the same as your little pot behind you, which I think is adorable. But one more thing I want to say about that actress who played the mom, she fell in and out of favor for me throughout the entire movie, but the last thing she did, and she didn't even have to speak a word, because I was in that dream sequence and I didn't really know what was going on, when Nancy goes away and goes with her friends and she starts freaking out and banging on the wall and yelling to her, and mom just smiles at her. I was like, Mom is Freddy. Mom's been Freddy the whole time. And I started like doing this. I was like, fuck, man. All that lady had to do was look at her a certain kind of way. Like she got a little crazy eyed. And I was like, oh, Mom just got possessed by Freddy. Or she's been him the whole time or something. And like, that's why she knew all the origin story and shit. She didn't really kill him. She was him. I was like, fuck yeah. Like I just figured out the entire thing and then I was wrong.
That's some new fanfic right there. Alternate reality.
God, that used to be my dealie so bad. But yeah, I don't know. But I really like the way those last two moments in the end, her looking away and being like either the natural mom look, like my kid is safe and everything's back to normal, or the creepy, like Norman Batesy, like I said already, kind of vibe, and then Freddy pulling her away. That was a almost perfect ending, like, to this saga.
So
beginning of a saga.
Even if it's not what Wes Craven had intended, it's really damn effective.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I gotta go back and forth between which way I want it to end, but they're all good. That's the problem. I think it was just good subject matter, and like, you just wanted Nancy to come out of it. That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and right, I don't think she's not alive anymore. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see 2, so is she in 2?
She's talked about in 2 that another family moves into her house. That's what 2 is. And it's another reason why I'm not as crazy about 2, because I want Nancy.
Is she in 3?
She comes back in 3 as like a grad student.
Okay.
It's cool.
There we go.
It.
Yeah,
I will talk about that soon.
You're like, I love this.
And she comes back and she has to hand off this knowledge to the next generation of Elm Street kids. And 3's classic. Everybody loves 3 pretty much. So for my audience, I'll put it out this way. What I hope to do is hopefully the next episode you see will be 2 through 6. I'm going to do some like quick booms. And because this is why, because this set is all 7 movies. And Melissa and I do not have the time in 1 month to do 7 movies. So I've seen all these movies several times. So I'm going to do a bang, 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 bang on all the sequels in the middle.
Wow.
But we're going to come back and do this together, right, for part 7.
Yes. 7 is New Nightmare?
7's New Nightmare.
Okay.
Because I love New Nightmare. And New Nightmare, it was one where I felt it was okay for you to do this with, since we did the book ending with Halloween.
Sure.
Because this is totally like a story much later that doesn't include the sequels. You don't need to see the sequels. You just need to know that Freddy continued as a franchise.
Got you.
So we'll see you back for this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
Also, I'm going to put it in right here that we're going to have some extra little segments from some guests, too, who are part of All the Horror. And we might hear from some folks you guys know throughout this series this month. So stick around for some of those. Cool. Yeah. I just want to go through real quick why we think this movie's important. My number 1 is the writing is awesome. I love this story.
Yeah, I agree. This was good stuff.
Yeah. Number 2 would probably be Wes Craven, because he's brilliant and I love him. And he's not one of those people where I can say I love everything he did, but when he's on, he is perfect. And this movie is perfect in a lot of ways. So totally, my number 2 is Wes Craven. Third up, we're creating a legacy. Freddy Krueger becomes, as we were just saying, bigger than anything this movie could be. Freddy Krueger is massive. It might not, if you're younger than, like if you didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s, you may not know how huge Freddy got. Because it was everywhere. It was like, I mean, was there like a cereal? I feel like there was everything.
Probably. I'm sure.
It was like everywhere you turn was Freddy Krueger. It was just, and we'll talk about that in New Nightmare, because it's one of the things that comes up in that movie is Freddy became an icon. Yeah. So
that's why I knew about him. That's why, like, I wasn't watching horror, I wasn't a horror aficionado when I was younger. I saw a couple of random ones, but until I came into my own movie-wise, that wasn't what I was choosing to watch. But he was everywhere. I mean, like I said, he was probably in like a, Kmart commercial at one point, like around Halloween.
All over the place,
they're like, dress like him. Here's the hands. Buy the plastic mask on your face. Blah, blah, blah.
Right. I mean, I have all this stuff because he was that popular that there's all this stuff. And the other thing is, because of that, is we have to remember that the origins of this is still a pretty damn scary movie. And it is, as Craven like to say, it's a scary movie, and that's what it is. And Freddy or no, if there hadn't been, like I said, if there hadn't been more, you still would have been like, wow, Freddy Krueger, that was a pretty crazy villain, Yeah. So I think that's important. Anything else we want to say is important about this? I mean, I think this is probably my favorite entry as a final girl. Okay. To the final girl theory, I think Nancy Thompson to me is the epitome of the final girl. She's smart. She looks after her friends. She looks after her parents. She's stuck in that situation of a teenager of not being believed by adults. But she perseveres and she pushes through until she can take that moment and step up and take care of the bad guy herself, because she has to.
And she doesn't just take care of the bad guy because she feels like, well, clearly it has to be me because I'm the only one left. Like, she does, it's not just like the word final is because everybody else is dead. I feel like she was going to be the final girl no matter what, even if the rest of her friends didn't die.
Yeah.
Because she prepared herself. Like we kept saying, like she was taking steps every single time. So even if she found out like other kids in the neighborhood were being affected, she would have been the person to be like, you know, I'm not just going to find my courage at the very end and step up. Like she had been planning the entire damn movie. How she's going to do this over the course of the 7 days or 2 days. Like that was one of my
time's a little fuzzy in this movie.
Timeline on this sketchy at best.
Yeah. Whenever they mention time, I think they're wrong. But I don't know if something changed in the editing or whatever. But like you said, there's that line where she's a girl who's gone through 2 days of hell. No, it's already been like a week.
Yeah.
And then when they say, well, you know, it's been a week. No, I feel like it's been like 3 weeks. Like, this girl's been through a lot of shit. You know?
Yeah, like unless your days are like 72 hours long, because that screwed me up too. It'd be dark, and then 5 minutes later it was nighttime. But then they were like, but it's not morning. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
It's also, I think, because she's not sleeping, like we're supposed to get a little disoriented.
Oh,
I don't know how much of that is intentional, how much is just like independent filmmaking.
Oh, okay. I forgot. You kept saying
things happen, you know. Like
this was not 2020 New Line. This was
this was like New Line saying, well, if we make this movie, then we'll have money, you know. So
sure, good call.
So yeah, time's a little fuzzy, but yeah, she definitely kind of shines through, and she's building that process. She knows from halfway through the movie that she's got to take down Freddy.
Yeah,
she takes it up. Yeah. Anything else? I mean, we have the great writing. Wes Craven is a director at his peak. Well, maybe not his peak, but you know, one of his top films. Freddy as an icon and a legacy that comes next. And Nancy as the perfect final girl for me. The reason we're doing this all month is because I love this box set of all the films together. Note that it does not have Freddy vs. Jason. It does not have the remake. Oh well, we'll live. Because
are those not though? Are those independent of the actual like series? Like, does this kind of close the series? Those 7 movies?
Yeah, I think with this you can say it's over. Freddy vs. Jason's this weird crossover of. It's a point when they own both properties. That's why it happens.
Okay.
But that doesn't really stick around that long. There's a lot of back and forth with who owns Friday the 13th in particular.
Oh, no.
So I think that's probably the fact that Jason's in it is why they couldn't put this in the box set.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it's a fun movie. I like it. It's a very typical slasher, but it's still a fun slasher.
Mm-hmm.
I have not watched the remake. I don't know. I may try to squeeze that in.
I don't think I knew there was one. When did it come out?
2010, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I had like 10 years and I still haven't watched it, so I should finally watch the damn thing. I just was kind of like, when it came out, I was kind of annoyed that it existed, but I like try to give everything at least one try. So
what, they remade the one we just watched?
Yeah.
Was Robert Englund still Freddy Krueger?
No.
What?
It's the guy from Watchmen who played Rorschach.
I don't know.
He's also in the Preacher series. Insert his name down here.
Yeah, I was
because I didn't write that down.
You're doing it again. You're saying stuff I've never seen.
Yeah, I mean, I like Preacher a lot, but
oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try and watch that this month. That might be my "this is what I got" stuff.
Yeah, go ahead. I do want to see your stuff too, so I'll still be here.
Well, I mean, going backwards here. So the Blu-ray, like I say, is the tops. The Nightmare on Elm Street on DVD. This was the box set. I couldn't afford the box set when it came out, so I bought all the movies individually. And then when I bought the Blu-ray set, I got rid of the ones that weren't signed. So I don't have the whole series anymore, but I do for part 1. Got a lot of people on there.
I see that.
Cool. It's a really good DVD. I mean, these are special editions. This was part of the full box set. Actually, I'll show you right now. because I couldn't afford the box set as a set and you could buy them individual. I did find somebody had sold it used individually, and I have the Nightmare Encyclopedia, which was kind of like the bonus disc in the box set. So I kept that. It's a little annoying the way they lay it out. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever watch like a Disney Blu-ray or DVD where everything's gamified to see the extras.
Okay.
It's kind of like that, where you gotta have to go through the dream to see the, whatever. But I kept it because it's kind of neat. Of course, this is one of the reasons I got a Laserdisc collection.
Oh, wow. That is nice.
And it's a gatefold.
Pretty. That's super cool.
It's really pretty.
It is.
I love it. I know you like to know who. So we have Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, Wes Craven, Ronnie Blakely, John Saxon.
Yes.
Amanda Weiss, so Tina. I'm missing like 2 people. I gotta finish this out, dude.
That's good. Johnny Depp.
Yeah, seriously.
Come on.
If I met Johnny Depp, I don't even know at this point. I'm probably gonna sign Ed Wood. I love that movie. But yeah. So this Laserdisc is quite amazing. This is back in the day. This is when the Elite Entertainment. Amazing 2 discs, well, multi-disc sets. So many cool things. Like I said, you can watch all the trailers. I believe here supplementaries, deleted scenes, original script, extensive still photo archive storyboards, early screening results, collectibles, biography, filmography, and like I said, I believe it was on here that I have all of his rejection notes, which is just so funny.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Was the dude you were talking about Jackie Earle Haley?
Yes, Jackie Earle Haley plays Freddy Krueger in the remake. That was the only name on there that I was like, oh, he's kind of cool.
Yeah. It says Rooney Mara plays Nancy.
Who's that?
Rooney Mara. She was, I never saw it and I never read the books, but the girl with the dragon tattoo?
Oh, okay.
It's her.
Other things I want to recommend real quick. I do have tons, as you can see, tons of Freddy stuff. Since we're spreading this out over a couple episodes, though, I'll show you the toys next time or something.
Save some? Okay.
Yeah, but what I am going to show you guys right now are 2 documentaries I think everybody should check out. One is, Never Sleep Again, which actually is a series that goes through all of the movies. And they do like blow by blow with everybody you can get to come out and talk about them. Really analyzes it as like a series and talks about what Freddy means to people. And it really talks about the influence of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I think if you have Shudder, it's on Shudder. So you can check it out there. I watched the chapter today right before we got on the conversation about the first movie, which is
nice.
But so if you're a fan, I definitely recommend that. And then if you're like me, a fan of Nancy, you have to watch I Am Nancy.
Oh wow!
Which I only found last year. I don't know how I missed it, but it is on YouTube, I believe, for free. Cool. I ordered the copy because I want to get her to sign it next time she comes around. It is a documentary that Heather Langenkamp did about going to conventions all these years and wondering why there's no Nancy action figures for her to sign. Have we not had this conversation many times?
Yeah. We have emailed Funko. We have.
Did.
Yeah, I know.
We're like on a 2-woman crusade to get a Laurie Strode Funko Pop to put next to our Michael Myers.
Yes.
So she, I think we should add Nancy.
Oh yeah.
She should be totally next to Freddy up there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a really great documentary. You learn a little bit about her and where she is behind the scenes in the film world as an effects person or as an owner or co-owner of an effects company because her husband's an effects artist. And it really looks at her perspective on going to horror conventions and the fans. I really wish I had been there, seen her the year that she was doing this, because I would have loved to be one of the girls talking about why I love Nancy.
Oh my god.
Totally check this out. Like I said, you can watch this one for free, I think, on YouTube. I know I watched it for free, and then I ordered the disc after. That's cool. Never Sleep Again, if you have Shudder, it's on there, I think. But both of these, totally worth it if you want to learn more about the wonderful Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. And I think that's all I got for today.
Cool. Yes, I don't understand why toy companies in general, but especially Funko. I'm a fan of Funko as a corporation.
Me too.
I love what they do. I'm a big fan. They do not shy away from women in horror. I think you were the one that just told me they have a new Elvira. I have the first one that they came out with. They have Carrie. There's no Carrie action figures.
I have a Linda Blair from, a Reagan figure from The Exorcist.
Yes. They don't shy away from that stuff. They try to be across the board, with every genre that they're part of, which now even includes, like we've talked about, like real people, pop icons. Like, you have Hitchcock, I think.
Yep.
You have Edgar Allan Poe. Like they're really coming around with everybody. Like they just came out with a line of presidents.
Oh yeah.
But which is adorable, and I actually have, of course, I got JFK.
I was gonna say you have JFK, right?
Of course I do. But they have Jackie, and anybody who follows like American historical politics knows how important she was too. And hopefully one day, if they come out with an FDR, they're gonna come out with an Eleanor.
I was just going to say that.
I know.
We need an Eleanor Roosevelt to go, with an FDR.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even have FDR. They literally started with they have Carter, which is fucking weird. I'm like,
Sister's a big Carter fan.
We'll come out with Peanut Farmer first, but there's so many other important Carter, JFK, Reagan, and Washington. They started with 4 main ones, and I'm guessing they're gonna branch out. But yeah, the day they come out with FDR, Eleanor better be right there.
Yep.
And they have RBG, and they have my friend just texted me that she got Rosie the Riveter, and I'm like,
oh yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
But yeah, so they definitely run the gamut, and they're so good at it, and their equality is their thing, and I'm super excited about that. But they definitely need, I don't know what franchise is bigger at this point, or I shouldn't say bigger, more visible, Friday the 13th, or oh my god, that's not even the one we're talking about. Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween. I don't know which one is more visible. It's that one.
I don't know. I think it's probably
I'm just saying.
I think it's Halloween because 2018 and then Halloween Kills is once we can go back to movie theaters again. Halloween Kills will come out.
I know that was
Yeah, and then there's the other Halloween after Kills that's already announced that I don't know the name.
Post-kill.
Endgame. I don't know.
Halloween Autopsy.
Halloween Endgame.
Halloween Endgame. Every end movie just needs to be called Endgame.
Yes.
But no, okay, yes, there might be, maybe there's more movies in the Halloween franchise, but we just talked about how iconic this was in the 80s and 90s. So Nancy's when we were looking at the credits, wasn't it John Saxon and then her?
Saxon. Yeah. I think John Saxon, Ronnie Blakey, and then Heather Langenkamp. Technically. Right there.
So, and you said she gets bigger and bigger and more, or her character and the idea of her get bigger and bigger the more it goes. So
she's iconic in the story too. I mean, and she's kind of talked about even in the movies she's not in. So yeah, I mean, we both have the Sarah Connor Funko Pop. For our Terminator sets. I mean, I have the Ripley for Ripley. Alien.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not that they don't have important, strong women in film, just not so much the non-villain women in horror.
Yeah.
So we got to get that caught up.
But I am so excited that most of my entries into major franchises in horror have been with you over the past 2 years during all the horror. So this was fucking rad as usual. Thank you so much for coming on my show, letting me be on yours, and tearing apart this fantastic movie that you introduced me to. So thank you again.
Thank you. And the same thank you so much for having me on the Brook again and for being here on, Horror Academic. And I love when we get the chance to do this, and I love when they cross over.
So good.
So it's always fun, and I love being able to introduce you to movies that I love. So it's a win-win all the way around. I love it.
Exactly.
And thank you to All the Horror for letting us, have this as a great excuse to do this every year. And I think we should keep going.
Yes, definitely.
We'll have to figure out where to go next.
I know. This is year 3 of All the Horror. Did you know that?
Well, when you and I started talking about doing an episode or doing something for All the Horror, I was kind of like, that's what made me start this show, actually, because I was because I only had Indie Cult Horror at the time, and I'm like, well, that's not really going to make sense because these are old interviews, and they were going to talk about something new, and it's like, But we should do that where I do a show where I talk about the movies I love. Yeah, I'll do that. And then by the time I get that figured out, we can make all the horror episode for October.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's why I think my first episode was the August of 2018. Because I wanted to
lead up.
August of 2019? I don't know. Time happens.
19.
Yeah. So 2018 was when I started Indie Horror. But
yes.
So yeah, that's why this show is, because we were talking about it and I was like, I should make a show so we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the first, I mean, obviously we've been friends for many, many years. And the first time we all started talking about all the horror, and I knew you had a thing going, but like you said, not really tieable yet.
Yeah.
I was like, there's one person that really needs to be fucking involved in this. And yeah, so I'm so glad last year that you jumped on the.
Well, thanks for getting me in, because I love it. Yeah. Speaking of all the horror and Sam and Invasion of the Remake podcast, I asked them to tell me what their favorite Nightmare on Elm Street sequel was. So here's the guys from Invasion of the Remake talking about their favorite sequels from the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
This is Sam from Invasion of the Remake, and with me is our host, Jason Bishop, and we've been asked to talk about our favorite follow-up movie to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, so thank you, Horror Academic, for having us on the show this week. This is a weird question because there's 9 films to choose from. Some are better than others. We've covered the original Nightmare on Elm Street and the remake, and I'm very appreciative of the remake because it makes me appreciate the others more.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that one. I mean, we had a few nice things to say about it, but on the whole, yeah, it's pretty inferior. And it's tough because there are some really good ones in the series too. I mean, there's 3 that I can think of off the top of my head where I'm like, ooh, it's tough. Depends on my mood, really, right?
For me, it's probably down to 2. I mean, the original's awesome. It's great. When somebody asks me what the answer to this question is, I immediately think, well, it's got to be Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Is there another choice? And then I'm like, well, yeah. When Wes Craven's New Nightmare was really strong as well.
And that's a tough one. And I'm a big fan of the second one too. Believe it or not, I actually think that it's a pretty solid film. But yeah, it depends on my mood. If I'm looking for something a little lighter, it's not like Dream Warriors is light, but that's where Freddy's sort of wisecracking personality really started to shine. And then, but New Nightmare is just so meta. And I remember seeing that in the theater with you, actually.
Mm-hmm. For me, I will pick Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, but it was also a bit of a revelation film for me because at the time, before I even started watching Nightmare on Elm Street, I didn't watch horror at all. I was exposed to things like Alien and Jaws at a really young age. I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Fair enough. Yeah, and you know what? When it comes right down to it, I have to go sort of which one am I most likely to rewatch, and it's going to be number 3, Dream Warriors, because it's rewatchable. New Nightmare is really good and is rewatchable, but not in the same way. It's not like a go-to film. It's like, you know what? I'm in the mood for something a little more cerebral, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to go to New Nightmare.
Yeah, it's just definitely a smarter film and using the metatextual narrative to support that film. And after some of the missteps in number 2 is as decent as it was, and there's a cool documentary on all sorts of little secrets about that one. Dream Warriors, for me, it felt like a comic book to me. Like, that's the world I come from. That's the world my day job is in. So watching it had a lot of humor, but there was horror. And then I realized something about horror. I'm a huge science fiction fan, so I kind of got over things like Alien and stuff. But watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is just science fiction with more blood. Or science fiction in
some ways,
fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy, yeah, in some ways, for sure. So I guess we're both in agreement that number 3 is probably our second favorite in the series, with New Nightmare being a close third.
Yeah, come on. Number 3's got Dokken, great theme song, and Zsa Zsa Gabor, getting murdered on screen. Come on.
There's that, yes. And it's also the return of Nancy too, right? Briefly.
Yes. She was in it for good for the first act anyway.
Yeah.
I think I think Freddy kills her in the second act. But and then Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie too. Most people forget he was in this.
I certainly did. And the other thing that Victoria and Melissa have asked us is what piece of Freddy collectibles do you have, or what kind of Freddy collectibles do you have? I'm not a collector, so I don't have a lot. I'm wearing my T-shirt. Sort of. You can see it. There we go.
I've actually got a Hellraiser shirt on right now, but you can't see it. I do have some Freddy shirts. I have a Kota Bakia Freddy figure on display on my upper floor, and I do have a Freddy glove hanging off in the corner of my kitchen, because why need knives if I've got 4 of them on my hand?
Makes chopping much, much faster.
And a lot more fun. I've actually got to wear that with Robert Englund in a photo, so that was pretty cool. That
is really cool. Yeah, maybe you should pull that up, and we'll put that up when you're talking on the video here, since we can't get you on video.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah. Excellent. Was there anything else you wanted to add about your favorite follow-up movie?
Well, I think I got nice and personal with it. Like Nightmare on Elm Street as a whole kind of warmed me up to horror, and anybody who follows our show now knows we get heavily into horror in October, and we will literally be watching a horror movie every day and then telling our audience about what we've watched, and they're things we've never seen before, and that's always fun. So, Freddy introduced me to the genre, and now we're firmly entrenched in the deep end of the pool now, never to escape.
Fair and exactly, yes. And like we weren't fans before, now we are even more. And I mean, we talk about it throughout the year as well, but certainly October is our month of it, and we get to watch the stuff we've been saving just so we can watch it in October. On that, I will say thank you to Victoria and Melissa for letting us take over their show for just a little bit, and we had a lot of fun chit-chatting about our Freddy stuff.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll get them on Invasion of the Remake next time.
We'll do what we can, for sure.
And you can catch our show every Tuesday on all your favorite podcast platforms.
And we are
out of here.
Welcome to Wild Speculation, a podcast where each episode is a short story that explores one of the many strange, wonderful, and sometimes disturbing worlds of speculative fiction. You can find us at wildspeculation.buzzsprout.com, on the Project Entertainment Network, and wherever else you find podcasts. So sit back, enjoy the story, and let your imagination run wild.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.